Start this off with a question. What is rat poison? DeMeco Ryans has talked a lot about rat poison, buying into hype, all that. I just decided yesterday, DeMeco, you talk about this. You seem like a non-bit coach. You practice what you preach. So how does a player go about eating rat poison? This was a fun interaction yesterday at practice, which I'll be at today with DeMeco Ryans. Here's DeMeco Ryans giving us a little bit of insight into what this rat poison is, how you consume it, all that. Fun times with DeMeco.
How does a player go eat rat poison, and how do they avoid eating rat poison? What exactly is that?
Yeah. I hope they don't mess with rat poison. Players just got to focus on themselves and execute. And that's it, right? It's what you're speaking of, rat poison. It's what I defer to as just outside noise, right? And in today's world, it's so much at our fingertips of social media, and everybody pretty much has an opinion on something, right? Not necessarily being that it has to be true, but anybody can say anything they want, and it's news now, right? And, it's a slight to you guys who put in the work, right, every day and are here and see, what the guys go through on a day-to-day basis. But our guys can't get caught up into whoever is saying what on the outside. It truly doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is about you focusing on yourself and going out and proving to your teammates that you're going to be reliable. You're going to be exactly where you're supposed to be. You're going to do exactly what you're supposed to do on each and every play. And that's how we operate here.
Was it easier to avoid when you played as opposed to now with the new age and a lot more social media stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. When we played, it was easy. We only had John writing positive articles, so we didn't have any. It was nice and easy for us, right? So it was, we didn't have to worry about the Twitter and all the other things there.
I love DeMeco's bit, and I'm calling it a bit just because I'm calling everything a bit, but I think a lot of times coaches go up to the podium and they say, "Yeah, we're just going to take it one day at a time. What happened last year doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah." I believe DeMeco when he says it. Now, I do think there's some sort of a human element, but I do believe DeMeco when he says it's week to week, when he says, "I don't want to eat the rat poison," all that. I believe DeMeco. With the mannerisms and all that, I absolutely believe DeMeco. Yes, it is football season, baby. We got a game tonight. We got Chiefs-Ravens. Little scouting. If you're one of those Texans folks that's thinking the Texans can get up to that tier, you're kind of scouting. You're kind of watching this. I'll say this. I'll go on the record. I think that the Chiefs are going to have a problem at receiver. I think their receivers are too little. I think as the season goes on, that is going to end up being a really, really big problem. Now, will Patrick Mahomes be able to flip the switch? Perhaps, but I think it's going to be a massive problem, the Chiefs receivers. To the point. Too bright. To the point where I'm almost considering betting on the Ravens tonight. I don't know. Talk me out of that. Very much deciding on whether or not to do that. Big game for fantasy football also. Yes, this is set your lineups. Set your lineups, have them good to go. No doubt when it comes to the fantasy football as well. We got to get that right. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Normally the night streams at 10:30. We're going to have some special stuff popping on Reaction Monday. Be on the lookout for that announcement. We'll probably announce it on Sunday during the post-game show, but it's going to be a collaboration with your two favorite digital guys, an exclusive collaboration. So be on the lookout for that. We got you covered on that. So DeMeco Ryans and the whole bit of rat poison, I think it's authentic. I don't think it's like a threat for this team to eat rat poison, but I don't know. I mean, there is a human element to it. There is a lot more love. They're getting a lot more attention. Who knows? I feel good about DeMeco Ryans, though. I also feel pretty good about Colts head coach Shane Steichen, and I feel really bad about Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell, the last time that Adonai Mitchell and CJ Stroud met in a big game, it was the Georgia game, the final college game of CJ Stroud's career. Now, in that game, CJ Stroud was the best player on the field, but the go-ahead touchdown, the touchdown that won the game for Georgia, was scored by Adonai Mitchell, who fell in the draft to the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's going to be a factor in this game, and you hear Shane Steichen talk about him. There's something that he likes about him most, and if you're worried about Texans corners and you're worried about guys in the slot and doing whatever they got to do against opposing receivers, this might scare you a little bit. Here's Shane Steichen.
What do you see from A.D. Mitchell just in his time filling in that slot role so far?
Yeah, he's done a hell of a job for us. Obviously, getting him in the draft, great get by Chris, getting him in the draft. But we talked about early, that one-on-one explosiveness that he brings is big for our football team. So he's done a nice job there. And like I said, we can put our guys wherever, in the slot, outside. We move those guys around by game plan. So we're excited to have him, though.
All right.
You talked about Alec having one of the best training camps that you've seen from him. What is his potential this year?
I think his potential's high. He made a lot of plays in training camp. We got to carry that over to the season. And he's got speed. He can run. He made contested catches all through training camp, and we need those to show up on Sunday for sure.
Very, very concerned about Adonai Mitchell in the slot. And you just heard the observation from Colts beat reporters, and I've said this many times. Some people I think I take it too far, and it is kind of nerdy ass media trading card type of crap that I do. But I'm being serious. I think the Colts beat is one of the most intelligent, insightful beats in all of football. And a lot of times, whenever you cover a team like I have the Texans for as long as we've been doing this. Going up there, all that in the mix. You lean on other radio shows, you lean on other local news people, you lean on other beats, and the Colts beat is very informative. And when a team's in your division, they come to your stadium at least once a year. We've seen the Colts come twice, which was 2018 when they beat the Texans in the playoff game. But man, it's a very informative beat. And it's interesting that the informed people on that beat noticed, hey, that rookie that they got in the second round that won 2 national championships with Georgia and then went to Texas and they were a game away from a national championship. That guy from Mo City, he's lining up in the slot a lot. So this talk about him being an outside guy, by the way, on the outside, I think he had the 5th highest 40 time. I think Adonai Mitchell is going to be a problem. I think he's going to be a problem. And I actually think their receivers are underrated. We know the Texans got a really good receiving core. I think the Colts have an underrated receiving core. Now, do they have a quarterback that can get them the rock? That's very questionable. Is he going to be able to get them it consistently? That is very doubtful. But he'll have opportunities. But I am concerned about if you're just talking about from a Texans perspective, I think the wide receivers of the Indianapolis Colts are extremely, extremely underrated. And when you tell me that Adonai Mitchell is going to be in the slot, that concerns me just a little bit. It is the locker room live in the morning, not normally the case, 10:30. We'll still have the 10:30 today. Probably give you a practice report. I'll be out there. Today's the coordinators in the open locker room. If you missed the open locker room videos, the interactions, I'm gonna react to them in a second, but they're also always on YouTube in the short section. If they're longer form, they're in the YouTube page as well. And sometimes we drop them on Twitter and TikTok all over the place. Just kind of depends. It's just kind of the digital game. It's shaping up. It's just kind of one of those things. Don't want to do too many clips because I want people to come to the channel to watch. But yeah, you'll see them every once in a while. Yeah, I think Adonai Mitchell is going to be a problem with Pittman. And I also think Downs is good, and I think Pierce is kind of underrated too. And I think they have one of the best running backs in the league. I think from a skill position standpoint, like if you lined up all the skill positions in the NFL, and I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that people really don't value running backs as much as they should. I think the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Indianapolis Colts have the most underrated skill positions players perhaps in the league. I think it's solid. Now, if you don't have a quarterback, then there you go. Pawn Shop 84 says he just got off work. Then locker room, then bed. Appreciate you, my friend. Normally 10:30. I think you're rolling. You got the unorthodox schedule, so usually you're probably sipping some coffee when you're listening. So I appreciate you for adjusting. Had to adjust on that. Hey, Landry, see you. It is what it. I mean, it's fine. It's cool. I don't have like a 1.5 hour gap of when I might get prep or might not, and I'm not having to, But yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it for sure. I think the Texans still win. Yeah, I mean that's the other scary thing, and I don't know how y'all look at this, but I like to gamble every once in a while. I think there's a lot of people who follow this type of thing that like to gamble, like to wager a little bit. Right now, damn near 90% of the money is on the Texans minus 2.5. Now, I think that's a little crazy. Now, I can understand the Texans being a small favorite. I could even understand the Colts being a small favorite. And I could understand if you put a gun to my head, I would say the Texans are going to win. But I would still kind of be a little bit worried about my life. Like I wouldn't sit in my seat and sit there and start planning my dinner if I bet my life on this game at noon. So when I see that 85% of the money is on the Texans, that terrifies me. And that normally when you see stats like that in Vegas, that's where like there's just a wild upset. And the craziest thing about it is Colts over Texans wouldn't be a wild upset. They wouldn't be a wild upset. I mean, Shane Steichen with half a year to prepare, Jonathan Taylor, full season, all this. I mean, yeah, you think the Texans win, but 85% is a lot. I think even y'all can admit that. That's just kind of bizarre to me. And that let's go back to the basic. That's how they build them casinos in Las Vegas. Yeah, for sure. I guess Marshawn Lynch said DeMeco hit him the hardest. I could see that. DeMeco used to lay it down. Can we run the ball consistently against Colts? I don't know if the Texans are going to be able to run the ball consistently this year. That's going to be something interesting to see like that. And I don't know that they're as committed to it. DeMeco was asked about it. He said, we just got to move the ball how we got to move the ball. I don't know if y'all caught that. There was a time once upon a time ago where I heard Bobby Slowick and DeMeco Ryans say, hey, we got to run the ball. We got to run the ball. No matter what, we got to find a way to run the ball. I don't disagree with that at all. I don't disagree with that at all. Not even a little bit. But now we just got to do whatever we got to do, which I'm sure he always said, but you're not sticking your chest out saying we got to run the ball. I watched them at training camp. I find it hard to believe that this is going to be an elite rushing offense. I think Joe Mixon's going to do his thing. I think Joe Mixon's going to the total yards, I think they're going to creep above 100 on the reg. I think he's going to be a big factor in the pass game, more of a factor than he's getting credit for. But as far as consistently running the pill, I don't see it. Just don't see it. No, this can't be a trap game. CJ's talking crap. You ended their season last year. It's a division opponent. I just don't see any way that this could be a trap game. Something interesting about this game, and I asked CJ Stroud about this yesterday. He kind of minimized it, but I didn't want to go up there. Like, I don't want to go ask like a question at a press conference and kind of like gas someone up or like, tell him how impressed I was with something that happened. But I was extremely impressed with CJ Stroud last year. And we'll do a full CJ Stroud podium review later on today. But I think the moment in which CJ Stroud really, really won over this squad was when he went up to the podium after the Colts game. And by the way, he had to show up early because his shoulder was jacked up. The offensive line, there were no tackles. I remember Andre Ware. Shout out to Andre Ware. You know I love you, sir. He said he wouldn't play CJ in the game. He said that on the pregame on 610 with Sean and Seth. Not only did CJ play, he got his ass whooped. He got sacked on the last play of the game. I was really pissed off at Slowick on that. But CJ Stroud, much like in the Georgia game where after they lost, after Adonai Mitchell scored that go-ahead touchdown and Ohio State missed the field goal, Ryan Day, he had some questionable clock management, and CJ Stroud, as a 21-year-old kid, grabbed the microphone from him and basically spoke for Ryan Day. I thought it was impressive. I thought it was crazy, and it showed maturity beyond his years. I thought it was wild to see a kid do that. And some people say, well, what do you expect? Well, I saw Will Anderson and Bryce Young, Nick Saban grab the mic for them. I saw Mac Brown grab the mic for Chris Sims. Some of y'all might not even remember that. Red River Shootout, Texas OU. And I saw CJ Stroud do that. And then I saw a rookie who has a long career ahead of him, who has a hurt shoulder, who shows up to the stadium hours before he needs to in week 2, who has the highest paid at the time tackle in the league out, another tackle out. I think Austin Deculus was starting at tackle, and he has interior offensive lineman out, and his entire O-line is just banged up. And you know what I saw from CJ Stroud? I saw CJ Stroud go up there and praise those guys for that effort when he got his ass whooped. Talk about going up there and fighting. I thought, me personally, my opinion, I said it at the time, I thought that was a turning point. And you saw it on the field the next week. This isn't like that romanticized. You remember, this used to drive me nuts. I think I got in so many arguments about this on the air. You remember when the Texans played the Colts in 2018 and Frank Reich decided to go for it? Like, I think it was like 4th and 4 or whatever at midfield. And the Texans ended up getting their first win against the Colts because of that decision. And they kicked the field goal. And Frank Reich said, I would do it all over again. I was aggressive, blah, blah, blah. And then you heard people at the end of the season when the Colts kind of flipped the switch say, that was the moment when the Indianapolis Colts knew that they had a coach and they knew they believed in their coach. They lost the next 2 weeks. So that was what was confusing about that. Like they literally lost the next 2 weeks after that. So there wasn't an immediate reaction. Coach believes in us. We're going to go kick some ass. When CJ went out there and he did this, just go back and remember what happened after that. After CJ Stroud showed up early, after CJ Stroud had a hurt shoulder, after CJ Stroud got thrown down on the ground 6 times, after CJ Stroud went up to the podium and he said, well, he had guys that didn't play, and he said, hey, I'm out here to fight for my guys, and my guys did a great job. You know what they did? They beat Jacksonville's ass on the road. They were a touchdown underdog on the road against Jacksonville. That was when Jacksonville was still one of the marquee teams in the AFC. They were preseason. I think their win total was 11.5. So people thought Jacksonville was going to be effing good. They beat their ass bad in Jacksonville. Next week, Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh my God, TJ Watt's coming through. What are the Texans going to do about this? Beat their ass. So there was an immediate response to what CJ Stroud did. So my personal opinion is that was the moment. Some people will point to a win. That was the moment where CJ Stroud established himself as the ride or die, I'm the leader of this effing team guy. That was what I thought was the moment. I asked CJ Stroud about this. Here's what CJ had to say about that moment, week 2 last year against the Colts.
You had the hurt shoulder, the offensive line was depleted. And after the game, you came up, you praised your teammates. Do you think that kind of set the tone for just being a leader and establishing yourself as a leader of this team?
I feel like it was a multitude of things, but I definitely think that week we took a step. I think last year. That stuff is done now. So I definitely do think that took a step for our standard and how we're going to run this organization. On the player coach side of things was just kind of the grit that, it wasn't pretty. We definitely, the coach got after us that day, but it definitely set a tone that we weren't going to just shy away. We were going to play all 4 quarters and try to play tough as possible, and it just really took time to, build trust and things like that. So, I definitely think that definitely took a step for the what we're seeing now last year.
You had the hurt shoulder, the offensive line.
I think it was the moment, to be honest with you. I think it was absolutely the moment, and I thought it was really impressive that he was able to do that because I'm not sitting – I don't think I would have. You know, it's easy for me to sit here and say, well, he did this, and the other guys ended up 21 years old, millions of dollars, big career ahead of me, no tackles, hurt shoulder, not too serious, but could get worse, getting flung around. Not sure I do that. And that's the crazy thing about these kids. These kids on this squad, and they are kids. They're in their early 20s, man. Like I was driving when most of these guys were born. Like they are just wise beyond their years. It's actually kind of insane just how accountable they are. And I was really surprised. We'll hear from Davis Mills in a second. Be sure to swarm the like button, subscribe, like, right along. 9 a.m. for now. This is kind of a surprise. We'll still get back to the 10:30 stream. I had to take care of some stuff yesterday. I was kind of stretching myself a little bit thin. Put out the videos early in the morning, so we're gonna get that right. We're gonna get to 10:30. Shout out to the wife and the baby. But Henry To'oTo'o, this might make you feel a little bit better about Henry To'oTo'o. So let's just be honest. He was bad in coverage last year. And there were times where he was just really, really bad in certain situations that you need a linebacker not to be bad. And it was there were times where you look at this and you say, okay, if number 39 were able to do what he should be able to do, then that play doesn't go for 20 yards, or that play doesn't go for a touchdown, or that play doesn't end up hurting the team. It's just the reality of the situation. Now, also the reality of the situation is sometimes guys just aren't capable of doing that. Sometimes, guys that are drafted later on in the draft are just not capable. But Henry To'oTo'o, I think not only did he confirm that reality, he also gave a reason why, and he was very blunt and he was very funny about it. This was yesterday in the locker room, the open locker room. I caught up with Henry To'oTo'o. One of his good friends on the team and someone who sits by him is Xavier Hutchinson. And I just asked Henry To'oTo'o, like, what's the difference between you as a player now and you as a player back in Indianapolis? And I really just wanted to know, because the thought of him being in coverage and in those situations, it should make you nervous if you're a Texans fan, or maybe not, because my man is brutally honest. Here you go. Take it away, Henry.
Between you as a player heading into Indy Week 1 versus what you were at the end of the season last year.
I was a fat ass last year. Okay. I was a fat ass. But I'm more leaner. It's honesty, bro. I'm honest. I'm more. I feel more leaner, more in shape. Worked really hard throughout the off season and focusing just strictly on my body and my diet. So I think that's the biggest difference.
What was the biggest part of having to eliminate the weight? What's the biggest challenge for you?
Eating sweets. I'm a big sweet guy. My wife cooks a lot of bakes. She bakes a lot, so telling my wife no when she's cooking cupcakes or cake or something like that. So
she still cooks.
Oh, 100%.
She still cooks.
100%. He knows
kind of diagnosis in front of you.
Yeah, say no to the cake this time.
Okay. so weight was a
weight
factor
was definitely just controlling my body weight, trying to stay at a steady pace and be at a percent fat that I feel comfortable at and playing well at. So now it's just about maintaining that for me. But I feel really, really good where I'm at right now.
What was the biggest impact? Was did it impact your coverage? Did it impact your conditioning?
Man, it impacted everything. Just my core strength, being able to take on linemen, being able to control my weight when I'm coming on a tackle. It's everything. I'd be able to move more fluently. So I feel really, really good.
You feel real good about it? It's good. Good routine. I don't have to worry about that. So I'll take the sweets.
Yeah.
There you go. That's Henry To'oTo'o. And I mean, that's accountability. I mean, that right there is accountability. Sometimes you see guys, they're just not capable, but I mean, you just heard him say, I was fat. I was out of shape. My core strength wasn't good. It impacted coverage. It impacted everything. I mean, that is brutal honesty right there from Henry To'oTo'o. And I think that, by the way, he had the robe on. He had his pants on though. So you gotta give them their space. Some guys will be walking up to dudes while they're like putting lotion on and have towels. It's like, man, give them some space. It's open locker room, but we gotta Gives some space. But yeah, he's chilling. He seems to be a little bit more confident. The linebacker core, you're not going to have Christian Harris, so you're going to have Hanson, you're going to have Henry T, you're going to have Azeez Al-Shaair. I mean, it's going to be a committee for sure. And the unfortunate part about that is tackling Jonathan Taylor is not fun. So not only do you have that linebacker committee, you're going to have to tackle one of the best running backs in the game who had 180 yards the last time you were at this stadium. So it's going to be a hell of a challenge for those guys. And we'll see how that goes and how they handle that. Now, Davis Mills yesterday, a little news for Davis Mills. Davis Mills got a contract extension. I think it was market value. He thought it was market value. I actually presented. I know Texans Cap did his stream last night, and he was saying, and I'm surprised Davis Mills took this. And I heard someone else yesterday at practice say that. I'm not. I think this is market value for Davis Mills. I think at this point, Davis Mills is a backup quarterback. I think his value as a backup quarterback is higher here than it is anywhere else. I think he's been in situations where he's had 4 systems in 4 years. This is the first time he's had a consecutive year as a system. You look at Joe Flacco got around 4.5. Jameis Winston got 4 with the incentives. Drew Lock got 5. I think that's the market value for Davis Mills. And I also think, and this is something that I think we need to maybe you, not me, maybe us. I think we need to change the way in which we look at Davis Mills, if you haven't already, because I sense, and I'm not trying to generalize, but I sense there is a certain level of Texans fans, rightfully so. It was an emotional time, but you have a little bit more frustration for Davis Mills than you probably should. And let's just go back to the Davis Mills path. Because at this point, I think you need to look at Davis Mills. You need to put some respect on Davis Mills' name because he's going to be the backup quarterback. Some teams have backup quarterbacks for a long, extended period of time, and those guys become beloved. Those guys become beloved when they're backup quarterbacks as long as they are for elite quarterbacks. And in a perfect world, he doesn't step on the field. But let's just go back to the 2020 season for Davis Mills. 2020, there was COVID, and it impacted college football like we've never seen it impacted before. In California, it was crazy. I mean, it was, I think they still might be crazy about the Rona in California. Davis Mills going into a season in which he was supposed to establish himself as a potential NFL quarterback, they didn't know if they were going to have a season at Stanford. So he was in an awkward spot to begin with. So Davis Mills goes to the draft. Okay. Davis Mills gets picked in the 3rd round. Now, he's not just any normal 3rd round pick either. Normally, when you take a 3rd round pick, if he ends up being a backup quarterback that earns a 2nd contract, that's an excellent pick. That's an excellent pick. 100%. But with Davis Mills, he was Nick Caserio's first draft pick, because King Bill, the football idiot, and the POS Jack Easterby had traded all of your draft picks. So he's the first draft pick that we saw the new GM make in Nick Caserio. He was potentially the replacement for, at the time, one of the 8 best quarterbacks in the NFL in Deshaun Watson, who wanted nothing to do with the Texans. And then we got all the extra stuff. So you had all the extra drama. You had all the frustration with Deshaun Watson. You thought that you felt good about the quarterback position for a long, extended period of time, but then it goes from Deshaun Watson to Davis Mills. So Davis Mills, who's probably in a perfect world, if things weren't as crazy as they were in California, he's probably playing at Stanford. Instead, he's drafted in the 3rd round. In the next thing to a perfect world, he's learning behind an elite quarterback and hopefully a good system. Well, he happened to have David Culley there, and he had to learn from David Culley, and he immediately gets thrown to the wolves and immediately has to start. Now, despite that, he does okay, to the point where people are putting up stats of Davis Mills versus Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and all that. Then because you haven't traded Watson yet, he has to start again, this time for Lovie Smith, and he's not up to the caliber of Deshaun Watson. So we're automatically judging a guy who should be a developmental quarterback who had to speed up his process. We're judging him on the scale of franchise quarterback. And then CJ Stroud comes in and Davis Mills is the backup. And then when it's clear to most that Davis Mills is the best backup quarterback on the team and Davis Mills has done everything that he needs to do and CJ speaks highly of him and DeMeco speaks highly of him and Slowick speaks highly of him, you have a game on the road against the Tennessee Titans and the team decides that they're going to start Case Keenum instead of Davis Mills. And not only that, for some weird reason, in that same game, which, by the way, Case didn't play great. They gutted it out. Case didn't play great. Like, Dalton Schultz kind of bailed him out on that catch. I think Davis could have won that game. I don't know. They know better than me. And there's probably like some romanticized, like, hidden intangibles there. I think Davis could have handled it. We saw it against Cleveland. Davis was clearly better than Case Keenum in that one. But then in that game, they put him in to throw like a random-ass Hail Mary. Put Davis Mills out there. Keeps his head up. Prepared to go against Cleveland. Case Keenum clearly in over his head against Cleveland. Davis Mills comes in, performs decently, and just does what he's supposed to do. And now he's your unquestioned backup quarterback. So I just want to give Davis Mills some flowers, man. I think that the stuff that he's gone through, and I'm not sitting here saying it's like the worst life ever. He's going to make $5 million to be a backup quarterback. But a lot of times you hear people say, man, backup quarterback, that's the best gig you can get, man. If you can get it, you can get it. I think in some cases it's just as hard to be a backup quarterback as it is a starting quarterback at a certain point. And the reason I say that is because we know what a starting quarterback is. More times than not, it's going to be a team trying to take a young guy and develop him into the long-term quarterback. And if they need a stopgap, they bring in the stopgap. But when it comes to backup quarterbacks, like it's like one extreme or the other. You either want an extremely established vet that perhaps has a ton of starting experience, or you want someone with like unrealized, undeveloped potential. It can be hard to hang around as a backup quarterback, but I could see Davis Mills being the backup quarterback for this team for a long time. A lot of good teams have that. I know Chase Daniel followed around Drew Brees for years. And he was just, reading the notes. Here you go, Drew. Let's help. It can be a resource. So there's that. So shout out to Davis Mills. Shout out to Case Keenum, who I think is on the coaching staff next year. I'm going to stick with that prediction. But I'm just going to I'm going to give Davis Mills some flowers. And I actually asked him about this. I was working the locker room yesterday. I asked Davis Mills about this, and this is what Davis Mills had to say about everything I just said. About his path.
Happy are you to get the extension? And what went into that line of thinking? I've heard some people say, well, you could have waited and maybe gotten more. What went into that?
Yeah, a lot of different factors. I kind of let my agent, my people handle all the business side of it. Obviously, I had a little insight, but my main focus is just going out there and becoming a better player each and every day, putting my head down and just getting to work. So I'm glad that I was able to reach a decision and sign the extension, but I'm really just here to play football and make the guys around me better.
How good does it feel for you? Because I'm even going back to your final year in college. You had the COVID uncertainty. Y'all didn't even know if you were going to have a season, especially in California. You arrive here, kind of get thrown to the wolves because of the Watson situation. You have two different coaches. Now you can look ahead and say, for 3 straight years, I'll be in the same system and same environment. How good does that feel?
It's great. If you include college, this is my 4th scheme in 4 years. So there was a lot of learning each off season to try to get to really day one and hitting the ground running, but coming back into a familiar scheme, familiar teammates, a lot of faces, building that chemistry already from previous seasons. I think it's very beneficial to just our team as a whole, and then myself personally.
Congratulations.
All right, there you go. That's Davis Mills, and I do think that it's quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, like when you have good quarterback. I got to preface it with when you have a good quarterback, a backup quarterback's like an insurance policy. You hope you don't have to use it. When you do, you hope it knows it can at least keep you afloat and at least get you back into a functioning situation. I think Davis Mills is that. I just want to give him his flowers. I mean, it's been a wild path. Not everyone has the talent to be an elite franchise quarterback. That's fine, but I mean, again, I go back to what I said about CJ, some of the guys on this team and their maturity beyond their years. I think he's handled it perfectly. I don't know that everybody handles it as good as Davis Mills. So flowers for Davis Mills. We'll get more into the CJ Stroud situation a little bit later on this week. DeMeco not speaking today. We got the coordinators. We got Bobby Slowick. We got Frank Ross. And we got a little Matt Burke, who, God, Cody Stutz loves talking to Matt Burke. They'll get in on that 3-tech. Shout out to Cody Stutz. Be sure to subscribe to his channel, man. You get him start talking to like an O-line coach or a D-line coach like Matt Burke. My goodness, the 3-tech, the 1-tech, all the techs, everything gets covered. When Stutz starts doing that, he might not admit it, but that's definitely what happens. Let's react to kind of some of the stuff that DeMeco had to say yesterday on top of the rat poison. Here was DeMeco Ryans meeting with the media. He seems like he's loosened up a little bit. He seemed a little stressed earlier this week. He's always focused. It is not a bit. It's not a bit at all. And speaking of Cody Stutz asked DeMeco, I thought it was a good question. How much of the Anthony Richardson stuff do you actually watch when you prepare for this Colts offense? Here's what he had to say.
As we prepare, right, it's we look at everything. Right? We look at everything. No, Richardson had a sample size of plays, not many. So still a young player in this league, still has a lot ahead of him, all right, a lot of ball ahead of him, but we just go off of what we see. That's all we can do. Focus on what we've seen on tape, and try to work from there.
Pawn Shop, appreciate you. Hey, get you some rest, man. Get you some rest. Hopefully you're off this weekend. You get to watch the ball game, my friend. I know you'll be out there grinding your ass.
With our captain vote, I'm excited about, who our guys pick. I feel like the guys know, right? That's that captain decision. I'm excited about it because it's not my vote. It's not my decision, right? It's the men in the locker room who are around each other, who work together on the field and truly get to know each other. And that's who they feel like our leaders are. And, it says a lot about all 7 men who were selected, like the impact that they have on our team, the impact that they have on all the players, young and veteran, right? It's really cool to see, for Diggs being his first year here with us and him getting elected as a captain. I think that's a special moment, and it shows the type of man that he is, the type of leader that he is, and the impact that he'll have on our team throughout this year.
Why did you and the organization think it was important to extend Davis Mills?
Extending Davis is something that he earned, right? Davis had a really great training camp. You saw big-time improvement from last year to this year. Thought he handled camp really well, playing some of his best ball in training camp. He went out and proved it, and it's snaps that he was able to get in the preseason. So everything Davis has gotten, he's earned, and he's done a really great job for us this year.
We've talked to you about the expectations, and you say they don't change. You've also talked about rat poison. How does a player go eat rat poison, and how do they avoid eating rat poison? What exactly is that?
Yeah. I hope they don't mess with rat poison. Players just got to focus on themselves and execute it. And that's it, right? It's what you're speaking of, rat poison. It's what I defer to as just outside noise, right? And in today's world, it's so much at our fingertips of social media, and everybody pretty much has an opinion on something, right? Not necessarily being that it has to be true, but anybody can say anything they want, and it's news now, right? And
Guilty.
It's a slight to you guys who put in the work, right, every day and are here and see, what the guys go through on a day-to-day basis. But our guys can't get caught up into whoever is saying what on the outside. It truly doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is about you focusing on yourself and going out and proving to your teammates that you're going to be reliable. You're going to be exactly where you're supposed to be. You're going to do exactly what you're supposed to do on each and every play, and that's how we operate here.
Was it easier to avoid when you played as opposed to now with the new age and a lot more social media stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. When we played, it was easy. We only had John writing positive articles, so we didn't have any. It was nice and easy for us, right? So it's we didn't have to worry about the Twitter and all the other things there.
Space Age says rat poison can also be positive noise. Yeah, that's the point, sir. It's taking the positive stuff and gassing yourself up and getting a big head. So in other words, if someone's saying CJ Stroud's the best quarterback, he's awesome, he's great, you start believing it, and then maybe you lose your edge. So yeah, it's positive too, but I think the positive is what he's referring to is as more dangerous.
Maybe kind of compare and contrast the feeling last year compared to what it feels like for you all as a group this year going into this preseason.
We're fired up going into the season. It doesn't, right? It's new beginnings. We're fired up about the 2024 season, fired up about our team, right? And just excited to kick it off and get going, right? So we can stop having questions about last year. So I'm excited about 2024 and pressing forward and seeing what this year lies in store for us.
It looks like everybody's really excited to see some of your new additions in a real game. Are you among those people that are just excited to see how they kind of work together when it matters?
Yeah, I've seen these guys working together, so I'm excited for everyone else to see, how our guys have been working here throughout training camp and OTAs, right? They've done a great job of working really well together. All three phases has done a really great job, starting with the coaches and getting the guys ready to go. So I'm excited for everyone else to see what our guys will look like this year.
You know that you were going to be with you knew that you were going to be.
Come on, Pedro. Get out of people's heads, man.
From Jake Hansen and Henry Toin. How much have they learned from just being around Aziz?
And not having Christian is tough. Christian really, man, he took a jump as the year went on last year, was really excited about his growth, and he was in a really great spot for us. So it hurts not having him with the young guys who are behind him, right? Henry, Jake, Dell, all those guys have to step up and just do their part, right? They don't have to be Christian. They just have to do what they're supposed to do, play our style of football, and they'll be just fine.
Speaking of excitement, I know it's going to be a total team effort, but what does excite you about what your two ends and what Anderson and Neil Hunter can do as a duo that we can have
Yeah, with the ends, with Daniil and Will, right? I mean, what excites me is their potential to wreak havoc, right, in any passing situations, right? Their ability to disrupt the pocket, to disrupt the quarterback, like that's what excites me. And if we want to play really good on defense, right, when they're passing the football, those two guys have to impact the game for us, right? And if they show up and impact the game, it'll be easier for our guys on the back end.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
How much is that really emblematic of what you see from him in all facets of this game?
For Nico, that's who he's been. Nico is a playmaker. Every time I see him, I call him, he's a true playmaker. So you just have to get Nico the ball in any way, shape, or fashion. Just find a way to get him the ball and just to see how explosive and how dynamic he is when he touches the football, right? He made some big plays for us last year, expecting the same this year.
What's up, B. Scott? Shout out to B. Scott.
I know you said you want to talk about last year.
Yeah.
Both teams that won the games last year set the tone, big explosive plays early in the game. How much of the emphasis is that for you?
Yeah, part of it is setting the tone, but it's also about how you finish, right? And that's the most important thing. Like everybody says you want to jump out to a fast start, right? That is important. We want to jump out to a fast start, but I'm harping on with our guys. It's all about how we finish, right? That's how you win these games, right? He may throw some things at us we haven't seen, right? Same thing for them. There was a lot of unknowns, right, in the first game. So it's just about surviving those unknowns and then being able to finish in the fourth quarter.
You got DeMeco, his work ethic has been second to none since he's joined the team. Corey last year, just now making his first real major start in the NFL game. Do you ever come away impressed with how quickly he's adjusted to NFL speed?
Kamari has not impressed me with how quickly he's, come away with it, because he's been the same, right, since I go back to Georgia. He's been the same guy, completely locked in, laser focused every time that he
Work
touches
ethic, second to
the
none. Cole
field.
Thompson
Doesn't
said.
say much,
Shots fired,
still doesn't say
everybody.
much, but he makes plays. So that hasn't surprised me. I'm excited to see him get his first start and see him just play big time ball for us.
I know you don't want to talk close it, Landry, but you do have a history with Indianapolis.
He's such a hardo, man. Look at that. I'm trying to get him to reminisce somewhat. Give me something, DeMeco. Come on. Come on.
Not for me. It's I played there a lot of times. So I mean, as I go in now, man, I'm truly just focused on, what do we have to do to come out of there with a win. Always been a tough environment, tough place to play. There is a rowdy fan base there. They get loud there. So it's going to be tough for our guys to communicate on offense. But, man, my focus is truly on whatever it takes for us to come out of there with the win. That's what I'll be focused on.
You guys played a ton of one-possession games last year.
Right.
Have you harped on just how the margin of error and how tight it is coming into the season more than you have in the past, or just in a different way or anything like that?
Yeah, the margin of error, it doesn't change, right? And we talked about that in the offseason, right, how close each game is in the NFL. That's why people talk about sneaking up on someone or expectations. It's just about, man, you got to be able to finish games, right? Finish games in 2-minute situations, whatever it takes. You have to be smart in those situations, and you have to be able to execute. So we never lose sight of that, and our guys have to be able to own situational football, and it's very important to win in the NFL. You have to be smart in situations, and you have to win those.
What's up, McLean?
Especially when you get down close to the goal line.
It's very important, John, to run the ball, right? To be good, a good red zone offense, right? You have to be able to run the ball, right? All offenses in the history of the league that have been really good in the red zone, they've been able to run the ball, right? And that's what it's going to take for us. Like, can we run the ball in to score in the red zone? The space gets limited when you try to throw the ball. There are a lot of tight windows. So we're going to rely, heavily on Joe and the offensive line to really set the tone in the running game. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you, man. Thanks, DeMeco. Thank you very much. Thank you, John McClain, at the end, right there for asking. John just kind of sits at the front now. John's just like sitting there like on the front left, doing his thing. I'm going to eat Chinese with John McClain next week sometime, probably Monday. It's going to be fun. He owns the ambassador. He owns the ambassador. People were talking about thin side. Yeah, it's thin, man. It's thin. Very, very thin. But yeah, John McClain, not thin. Chinese food, yes. Ambassador, if you're ever in Houston, you got to go to the Ambassador. They close at 2 and then they reopen at 5. Best Chinese food in town. Not even close. Kind of feel like you're like in the Chinese mafia when you walk in there. And like, what is this hole in the wall? You walk. Oh, okay. They got the tablecloths and stuff here. Get the crazy chicken. Crazy chicken. Or if you're eating healthy, you can they'll saute sweet and sour or orange chicken for you. Soup's good too. Special soup. Extra soy sauce, put some spice on it, mix it up. Boom. Chinese with the general. How do you watch a game? I want to ask this question. I'm not trying to do like the hack ass, like generic question. Hey, what is the best? No, but really, because this is obviously a 365-day Texans digital experience, and it always has been. Even for the last 2 years, it has been. Even when I was on the radio, we posted a video every night. The average, I think, is like 3 a day. So not everyone consumes football 365 days a year. There's going to be new people swarming here once the season starts, when the post game and all that type of starts. I anticipate that. But there's also people that are here, whether it's in June, whether it's in March, whether it's after the draft, whether it's before the draft, that I'm assuming really, really, really get invested in Texans games and probably get invested in other types of games. I'm not just talking about like a random ass week 3, random ass week 2. I'm talking about a season opener, a rivalry game, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, a playoff game. How do you like to watch the game? Do you like to be around a lot of people? Do you like a watch party type atmosphere? Do you like to just be hunkered down by yourself at the crib? Do you like to have people over to the crib? What's the ideal way to watch a game? Because I've found, for me, the large watch party, it can be okay if you're in a certain spot, but I kind of like to just be kind of hunkered down, like in my own zone. No distractions, no casual observers. Like, there's nothing worse than watching a big game and then all of a sudden someone's coming over. Hey, man, what's number 6's name? Oh, who's that? Oh, number 1. Oh, he used to play for the Bills. Oh, okay. Wow. Well, that guy's little. Where's he go to school? He went to Houston. Oh, okay. Wow, that's great. Oh, that number 12, he's fast. He's mean. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, Michigan. Oh, Jim Harbaugh. Oh, okay. It's a lot when you're trying to focus on the game. What is the ideal way to watch the game? I think the viewing experience is such to where you just got to be hunkered down at the crib, right? At home with the pops. Shout out to DJ D Paul 713. I like to watch the big game at home with my pops. Can't have a bunch of people around talking over the game about unimportant nonsense. Yeah, my dad takes it to an extreme. So my pops, we used to watch, like, so Thanksgiving, obviously the Texas Longhorns. That's mine and my parents' bond. They both went there. When they got divorced, my dad was taking me to Texas games, Texas OU. My mom likes Texas. My dad likes Texas. Even when they're divorced, that's the only thing that, like, I'll get texts from both sides. And they were great co-parents. Like, I'll get texts from both sides. They're both, like, really into it. So no matter where I went to school, I was going to be a Texas fan. I was born, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We, on Thanksgiving, so there's a small town where my dad's side lived. And he actually lived like 2 blocks from where my grandpa was, and he was the host of Thanksgiving. So we would go over there on Thanksgiving, and Texas would be playing Texas A&M. This is family Thanksgiving. My pops, if it got too, because we had a lot of Aggie relatives, if it got too, like, intense, my dad would walk to his house and watch the game until it got in control and then come back and chill. That's how far he would take it, which was absolutely crazy. That is insane to do. Absolutely insane. Grimball says, I watch at home, and the biggest dilemma I have is whether to make tacos, sliders, hot dogs, or nachos. You got to go with it. I think you got to go with one of the 3 and then the nachos. Like, the nachos need to be made no matter what. And then you need one of the 3. You need the tacos, sliders, or hot dogs. I'm not big on making the sliders. I don't mind going and consuming sliders at a restaurante, but I'm not big on, like, making the sliders. I got to be full burgers there for sure. No doubt. So it's going to be fun. Christmas game going to be fun as well. And it's going to be fun. I'm about to head to practice. 10:45 is when the open portion of practice starts. So let's be sure to subscribe. Let's be sure to like. Let's be sure to ride along for this Texans coverage. Post game going to be lit. We'll do a CJ Stroud podium critic review a little later on in the night. The 10:30 night stream returns tonight, so we'll be back in that mix, and that's what's going on. And by the way, Monday, be on the alert for the announcement. If you like Cody Stute stuff, you like my stuff, and you say, man, those guys should do more stuff together, you're going to get your wish in some way, shape, or form. So we got you covered for Reaction Monday. It might even go beyond that. So be on the lookout for that. Reaction Mondays will never, ever be the same again. Swarm that like button. Appreciate you for coming through. Special start time for the locker room. Normally 10:30 p.m. And whenever news breaks, some practice reports here or there. You never know what you're going to get, but you know you're going to get consistency. And I appreciate you for coming through. We're all in this mofo together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in.